Howdy, howdy, folks. Darth Alpha here, and today we are starting another episode of KSP Interstellar tutorials. So, let's see. So we've gone over the Daedalus engine so far. We've gone over how to collect antimatter. We've gone over this Z-Pinch fusion engine. Don't recommend it. I guess if you used it as more of a traditional rocket engine, it'd be fine. But the limitation where you cannot throttle while you are just doing atmospheric intake makes it a bit of a no-go for me. Today we are going to be going over this big old guy right here. Oh boy, he doesn't even fit in the in the VAB here. So this is the Damysus Interstellar Nuclear Saltwater Rocket E. Probably engine. Yeah, there we go. Engine. So this guy right here, I slept on this for a long time, but this is an incredible engine. It uses nuclear salt water, a smidgen of antimatter, and this is the Interstellar version. So this is a competitor with the Daedalus. This is a competitor with the Buzzard, with the Kerbal. This is a late game engine, and it's pretty cheap. Its fuel is pretty expensive, but it's not bad. So we're gonna go ahead and get going here. So nuclear salt water is a bit of a weird one to create. You can just obviously ship it straight up. It is made of heavy water and uranium-233. You can store it in these guys right here, the radioactive fuel containers. So nuclear salt water is going to be around here somewhere. We can just go to the switch window. Nuclear salt water. It's pretty heavy, obviously, since you're mixing uranium and water, but it is not terribly expensive, at least in small amounts. You can see here this one's costing just a little over $1 million, but that's just about 100,000 nuclear salt water. Once again, though, quite heavy. Yeah, 100 tons for that much. Okay, so I have created one earlier. Where's it at? This one, right here. Okay. Ooh, let's go ahead and pop out of here. So it does generate a good amount of waste heat, and it requires a little bit of energy upkeep, but that's not too bad. Okay. So on this one right here, I actually just filled these guys up with heavy water, and then put a whole bunch of uranium-233 up there as well. This does work. That'll work just fine. This thing will auto mix it ahead of time, or it will take the nuclear salt water. So I'm actually gonna switch this around, because I'm not terribly happy with that. It also does require a little bit of antimatter. So let's grab this one right here, scale that one up. Let's put a reaction wheel. This is a 5-meter part by default. And let's put another one up there, that guy there. Let's make sure this is set to nuclear salt water. Hang on. Oh, okay. I see, okay. So the little indicator right here, which is what I was reading, says not nuclear salt water. It's UxH2O something, but it says down here nuclear salt water. Alrighty. Okay, so we got that. Let's go ahead and throw our radiators back on. Pop it up to 4x. And then we just need a teeny tiny little bit of antimatter. So I'm going to go antimatter. Let's go with an antiproton storage ring up here at the front. Let's put a toroidal hub on first. These guys can cause problems if you don't add these toroidal hubs. I'll put another one on just to make things work. Honestly, this should include a central hub. But I guess that allows you to scale this up without scaling up the inside core, which is nice. Alright. Okay, so that's pretty expensive. But we don't go through this hardly at all, so really we can scale that back down and slap 10,000 in there. Okay, and we've got our plasma jet magneto inertial fusion reactor and our MHD generator. We are producing plenty of electricity to run this thing. Yeah, you can see we're generating just over 4 gigawatts of electricity. Okay, let's move this so that it's not clipping into the magnetic coils. And we're up a little bit. I'm going to scale this guy up. And this guy as well. And this guy just for kicks and giggles. So now we're going to be producing way more electricity than we need. Oh yeah, we're plenty good on that. Let's throw on a little bit of fuel, because this is going to need... Nope, that's the MHD generator. Deuterium and tritium. A little trick we can use is set this back to 2 times. There we go, got that right. You can right-click this. If you have advanced tweakables on, you need to go back to the main menu to turn that on, but I highly recommend it. It lets you do stuff like remove stuff from symmetry, make it so things won't decouple. I'm actually going to keep 2 of these. Pardon the sound. We're going to set this guy to deuterium, and this one to tritium. That's xenon, tritium. There we go. So this will run pretty much forever. Alrighty, and let's go over here. Set this to vacuum. Is this going to work here? 100 seconds. Why is it doing that? I suspect that's bugged. Let me check here on MechJeb. Let's go to the Delta V. No. Okay, so that's not working. Let's launch and just see if this is bugged. There is a distinct possibility it is, in which case you'll want to just have your water and uranium stored separately. Let's see what we got. This engine you cannot fire while in the sphere of influence of Kerbal, while pointing at Kerbal, I assume when you're close to it, that is. And you also cannot fire it, or rather, if you fire it when there's a vessel nearby that has Kerbals in it, you will not be able to fire it without killing all those Kerbals. Okay, let's see what we got here. What is it that we're going to run out of? So heavy water, uranium. Oh boy, we're running up a good heat there. Does this one not auto-mix them? This one might not. The other one does, I know. Okay, so this one does not. That's really good to know. I don't know why it's called a nuclear saltwater reactor, or engine, if it doesn't accept nuclear saltwater. Is there a way to unnuclear saltwater? Is there a button here that I'm missing? No. Okay, well that's really good to know. Let's go ahead and revert back to the vehicle assembly building. See, I did a video on this one already that I've ended up scrapping, and I didn't know this part. So, it's very good to know this. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of these guys. The ratio that we need to worry about here is going to be... okay, so we just need a lot of water, and not a whole lot of uranium or antimatter. That's what we need here. So... let's go fuel tank. This guy can do water for sure. Can this do water? This can do heavy water. Okay, so let's do one of these guys. Nope. Scale that up. heavy water. Boom shakalaka. Just wanted that. Put that over there. We are going to need to do a different radiator setup, which is fine. Okay, so we've got that, and let's go ahead and get ourselves some uranium. This guy right here holds about 33,000, so let's see if we can get some uranium-233. That one right there. We only need... That's about perfect right there. Only need that much. Okay, there we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just over 5 million delta V. That's much better. It's a slow thrust-to-weight ratio because this thing is so heavy. But not too bad. Okay. Now we need to figure out our radiators. I think we're going to need to go with these big, long ones. These ones right here. Yeah, these guys. Get rid of that. Extend. Okay, so that's going to clip into our tank here. So let's go ahead and put these out on a bit of a little far out guy. Okay, how's this look? Nope, not that one. That'll work. Is there a longer one? There is a 10-meter one. With vessels like this, it's important to keep your part counts low, which is why it's better to scale things up rather than add like 4 or 5 of them. I am going to add, just to avoid crackening, one of those guys, and I'll add one to the bottom as well. That's not centered. There we go. There we go. Alrighty. And then the radiators, right. Thermal radiator. And it annoys me to no end that this doesn't actually snap. Like, this is certainly something that should snap onto the end. But it only attaches radially. Alright, and let's see. We are... Oh, yeah, we are plenty good. This thing creates 54 gigawatts of heat. And cools that much. In fact, actually, because this nuclear engine down here does produce heat, I'm going to scale this up to a 48 and then to a 64. So let's see what we got now. 900. That is plenty. And that's a little expensive, but yeah, not too bad, really. I know that scaling these things up to, like, yeah, once you start getting up to this size, things get real expensive. But it does scale that high, so that's important to know. Okay. And actually, I'm going to add one of these guys out here to the end. Holding Alt to force it to snap to a end point. Don't know if I've mentioned that so far. And then let's go ahead and just slap a big ol' antenna onto the end of this. That'll work, yeah. And let's activate this, extend. I think we're good on clipping. Yeah, not that the clipping matters, of course, but it's just... It's one of the few things I can do that is as within my aesthetic reach. So let's save that. Let's go ahead and launch. At just under 40 million, this is a pretty expensive craft, but this will take you to another star system. If you have Galaxies Unbound, this will take you to a nearby star system. It's a little tricky to ISRU. You have to be on the surface of a planet to get the uranium, obviously. The heavy water you can get, like Kerbal has heavy water. Heavy water, by the way, for those of you who do not know, is what you get when you have deuterium and oxygen together, and they form what is chemically identical to water, but it is literally a little heavier because it has a few extra neutrons in it. So, let's go ahead and start up our engine now. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is telling us something a little different about what our delta V is, but that's fine. Alrighty, and let's see where we want to go. Scrolling out here. I have had to reshoot this, so I've got a lot of stuff out and about, but I didn't figure it was worth starting a new save or trying to go back and find a different setup. I want to see... I don't think that our thrust-to-weight ratio will allow us to land on anything of significance. We might be able to do Gilly, or one of the really small moons around these gas giants. In my previous example of this, I think we did almost land on Pluto. Well, it wasn't Plock at the time because it didn't have the outer planets mod, but let's go ahead and let's set this as our target. Okay, that's gonna get us pretty sunward. Let's wait a year or so. Just because we want the sun to not cook us alive. That'll work. Okay, let's go ahead and point towards the target. And then get on this side of the planet. Perfect. Okay. And we are gonna start our burn. Let's get going. Okay, so we're heating up quite a bit. Oh boy. Let's hope we don't completely overheat. And what are we looking at? Okay. So, I think we might... Nope. Okay, so this is not a dataless drive. It's got some oomph, but the amount of water that you require to get these crazy high delta Vs, the uranium's quite heavy. The antimatter is, well, it's not heavy, but okay. Let's go ahead and just well, let's keep our stuff here, but let's just go back to a nice normal Kerbal orbit, and we will just have to get ourselves up to a higher orbit before we try something like that. I don't even think you could do that with the dataless, really. Burn from that low. But once we get ourselves out to about a megameter, maybe 5 megameters or so, 2 or 3, we'll definitely be able to do that burn. Okay. And let's go right here. Would be interesting to see what the actual cutoff is. Like, I'm sure there's a thrust-to-weight ratio that's required to break away in a single burn. We're at about 5. Yeah, that's not perfect, but it's fine. Because this vessel is so heavy, if we pull open our delta V stats... or no, not our delta V stats, our vessel info. You can see here, this is a 5,000 ton vessel. Oh my gosh. All of that is almost all of that is water. Yeah, 4,000 tons of water. Okay, I think we lost it as a target. Set as target, point at target, burn. So long as we don't hit the moon, we should be good now. Oh, yeah, maybe. Why are we not? Oh. I wonder if something is misaligned, if something is off-center. Because it shouldn't have done what it just did there. Bit of a hang up on the lag. Okay. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Just because we are so heavy, Our acceleration is quite low, but we will burn just about forever. Or we'll crash. Oh, nope, we're good. Okay. Insufficient power. Okay, weird. I'm getting some weird lag spikes here. Oh, I wonder if the waste heat is causing this thing to, No? That should be working. I don't know what's going on there, but I wouldn't mind figuring it out. Okay. So we are just going to keep burning here. $100 I think is about as high as we can comfortably go without something weird happening. Okay, so we have our, our closest approach. 5 years. I should point out this is still a pretty direct shot. Yeah, we're at about 50 days of acceleration. This, maybe if we were to cool it on the water, this would make a very good manned interstellar setup, because you could have a small lander that goes down to the surface of the planet that you go to in like an interstellar setup, mine up some uranium, you bring it back. This thing is up in orbit, it collects some antimatter, and you have an atmospheric scoop that collects heavy water or deuterium and oxygen from the atmosphere. It's a little crazy of a ISRU chain, but not impossible. And you do get this engine. I think this is definitely the earliest engine you get that's capable of interstellar. You might be able to make it work with like the electrodeless Lorenz something or other, basically the ELF plasma thruster. But I wouldn't put Kerbals on that, because it's going to accelerate so slowly, and nah, I wouldn't. This is your earliest option. So, anyhoozle. You get the idea here. I'm not going to spend all day, because we can't accelerate much faster, because I think if we go to 1,000 times, we run out of power. Or maybe not. Yeah, we do. Okay, that's weird. Insufficient power. I don't understand why it would say that. Because these are full. This is full. And this, I believe this requires fuel, or requires power. I don't see it. Well, still though, this is your first option for Interstellar. Maybe if you weren't like me and cooled it a little bit on the heavy water, this thing would take you to Alpha Cryptari or whatever the early stars are. It's going to take forever to get there. But what you can do with that is you can go to your engine, and you can set yourself a fuel limiter. So you will burn until you have 50% fuel left over, and then that'll leave you plenty of fuel for the deceleration once you get to the other end. You could do something like, I think, let's see, if you do a 90%, you will burn 10% of fuel. Yeah, so if you do 60% or 55, that'll leave you enough to maneuver, enough to get into orbit of an appropriate star in order to refuel. Yeah, overall, this is not a bad engine. It's not as good as the Daedalus. It's not as good as the Kerbstein. It's not as good as the Buzzard. That said, or rather, the Bassard. But this is your first option. This is your first option to go interstellar, to take Kerbals beyond the confines of the Kerballer system, to really get out there. And in my playthroughs, I wish I hadn't slept on this thing. I thought, there's no way it takes something other than hydrogen to fill up. I'm not going to bother with the ISRU for that. But I wish I had. So, anyhoozle, we are off to Pluck. And we'll set up a beautiful colony there in the name of Kerbanity. I don't know. I just came up with that in case you didn't notice. So, anyhoozle, I will go ahead and end it there. A bit of a shorter episode today. But I think that won't be too bad. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.